Welcome to AI Book Highlights.
Great to be here.
Today we're looking into Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos.
Yeah, and it's definitely not your standard self-help book, is it?
Not at all. It's quite a deep dive, really, into human nature, morality. It pulls from psychology, mythology, religion, personal stories, pretty dense stuff.
Absolutely. It challenges you to think about the structures that shape our lives.
So what we want to do today is pull out maybe 5 key highlights from the book, things that really stand out.
And then maybe distill those into, say, 3 actionable takeaways, things you can actually use.
Exactly, things you can implement right away. Okay, let's get into it.
All right. So maybe the place to start is this core idea Peterson keeps coming back to,
Okay.
the interplay between order and chaos.
Right, these two fundamental forces.
Exactly. He uses that ancient symbol, the Taijitu, the yin and yang, to explain it. Order, the white part, has that black dot of chaos in it.
And chaos, the black part, has the white dot of order.
Precisely. The idea being that nothing is totally certain, totally fixed, and nothing is so chaotic that you can't find some structure, some potential for order within it.
It's a constant dynamic, not just an abstract idea either, right? He connects it to how we actually live.
Yeah, definitely. Like too much order, too much rigidity in your life, it can, it can crush creativity.
Yeah.
But too much chaos, constant uncertainty, that's paralyzing.
So you need to walk that line, find the balance point.
That's the argument. He even brings in nature. Nature selects based on fitness how well something fits its environment.
But the environment itself isn't static. It's got beauty, sure, but also disease, disasters,
Yeah.
chaos and order mixed together.
And he argues this balance is critical for us, for humans,
Yeah.
for how we act, even how we see the world. We need goals, and those goals need to be based on values.
Without shared values, it's hard to agree on anything.
Yeah, or even perceive things the same way. It's like you can't act effectively if you don't have a map, a shared understanding of where you are and where you're trying to go.
Okay, so that leads naturally into the next point, I think, about shared systems and hierarchies.
It does. Peterson talks a lot about how shared cultural systems create these, hierarchies of value, and that these are actually necessary for stable human interaction.
And this is where he brings in the lobsters, right? Which always gets a reaction.
Yeah, the lobsters. It's an analogy, obviously, but he uses it to talk about dominance hierarchies and the neurochemistry behind them, specifically serotonin.
The neurotransmitter affects mood, confidence.
Right. So in lobsters, the ones lower down the hierarchy, they have lower serotonin. They're less confident, more stressed, posture differently.
And he draws a parallel to humans. Lower serotonin linked to less happiness, more pain, anxiety, illness.
Even a shorter lifespan. And interestingly, he points out this connection seems to hold even when you factor out things like income. It's not just about material wealth.
Which raises the question, can we influence our own internal state? Our own serotonin, maybe?
Well, Peterson suggests practical things. One core idea is consistent daily routines, especially waking up at roughly the same time each day.
Why that specifically?
It ties into our circadian rhythms, our body's internal clock. Predictable rhythms seem to help regulate mood and manage anxiety and depression. It's about creating a predictable structure, a little bit of reliable order in the chaos of daily life.
Creating order within ourselves. Okay, so highlight number 3. This one's about our capacity for both good and evil.
Yeah, this is a really profound part of the book. He explores this deep human potential for both incredible creation and, frankly, terrible destruction.
He uses the story of Cain and Abel from the Bible.
Right. Cain feels resentful. His sacrifice isn't accepted. And out of that bitterness, that desire for vengeance almost, he kills his brother. It's a stark picture of what happens when negativity goes unchecked.
It's a dark picture, but he doesn't just leave it there, does he?
No, and this is crucial. He argues that sometimes experiencing evil, either suffering it or witnessing it, can actually lead to learning what is good. Not always, of course. Some people are harmed and just perpetuate harm.
But many don't.
Exactly. Many choose a different path. Peterson seems to suggest that ultimately the capacity for good tends to win out, or at least has the potential to.
So what's the key step then toward strength of character?
Recognizing that potential for both within yourself. Acknowledging that you personally have the capacity for mayhem, for resentment, for deceit, as well as for creation and good.
Owning the shadow, so to speak.
Kind of. And the idea is that this self-awareness doesn't make you weaker, it actually makes you stronger. It can reduce fear, build self-respect, and make you less likely to be, say, oppressed or manipulated. You understand the darker potentials, so you're better equipped to resist them, both in yourself and others.
That makes sense. Which brings us to the fourth highlight, personal responsibility and telling the truth.
Right. Peterson pushes back against the idea that just pursuing happiness is the main goal of life.
Which sounds counterintuitive to a lot of modern thinking.
It can be. He suggests that deeper meaning is found elsewhere, specifically in developing character, especially when you're facing suffering, which is inevitable.
Okay, so how do you do that? Develop character.
One key piece of advice is to treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping, like you care for someone you love.
Give yourself the same care and attention.
Exactly. Hold yourself accountable. Stop doing things you know are wrong, even if you can't fully articulate why they feel wrong. It's about listening to that internal compass, that conscience.
Trusting yourself, in a way.
Yes. And linked to that is the absolute necessity of truth. When you're lost, when you don't know what to do, and we all face that way, Peterson's advice is stark. Tell the truth.
Just tell the truth, even if it's difficult.
Especially then, maybe. The idea is that speaking truthfully aligns your words, your actions, maybe even your soul, clears the fog. Even if the truth is unpleasant, expressing it allows genuine understanding and a path forward to emerge. Deceit, even small ones, just clouds things further.
Okay, powerful stuff. So the fifth and final highlight deals with ideology and competence.
Yeah, this is where he gets quite critical of certain modern trends. He questions ideologies, particularly those taught in some academic circles, that seem focused on demolishing the very culture that supports them.
He questions the rationale there.
Right. But the broader point he makes is about what should determine status and hierarchy in a society that actually works well.
And he contrasts ideology with competence.
Exactly. He argues that in healthy systems, competence, actual ability, skill, effectiveness is, or at least should be, a primary factor in determining who rises, who leads, who gets respect, not just adherence to a specific ideology or raw power grabs.
Can you give an example?
Well, the classic one is medicine, right? If you need a doctor, you don't primarily care about their political views, you care about how skilled they are as a doctor. Their competence is paramount.
That makes sense. Competence matters in the real world.
And he links this to personality traits, things like intelligence, conscientiousness, being diligent, reliable. These are strong predictors of long-term success across many fields. The implication is that a society based on merit, on competence, is likely to function better than one dominated by ideological battles or pure power dynamics.
Okay, so those are 5 really thought-provoking highlights from the book. Let's try and boil some of this down into actionable takeaways. 3 things people can actually do.
All right. Takeaway number 1, thinking back to the order, chaos, and serotonin discussion, prioritize consistent routines.
Specifically, the wake-up time.
Yeah, that seems foundational. Try to establish a consistent wake-up time, even on weekends if you can manage it. It sounds small, but that predictability can really help regulate your system, potentially reduce anxiety, and give you a feeling of stability.
Okay, simple but potentially powerful. What's number 2?
This relates to the discussion about good and evil within us. Takeaway 2 is confront your own capacity for negativity, meaning engage in some honest self-reflection. Don't pretend you're purely good. Acknowledge your potential for harshness, for resentment, for deceit, for all those darker impulses we talked about.
Just acknowledging it is the step.
It's the first crucial step. Recognizing those tendencies allows you to start managing them, to mitigate their negative impact on yourself and how you interact with others. You can't fix what you don't admit exists.
Right. Honesty with oneself. Which leads nicely into the third takeaway.
Exactly. Takeaway number 3, practice telling the truth.
As we just discussed.
Yes. Make a conscious effort, especially when things are uncertain or difficult. Don't fudge, don't manipulate, don't tell those white lies that just obscure things.
Even when it's hard.
Perhaps especially when it's hard. Speaking truthfully, Peterson argues, clarifies your own mind, aligns your actions with reality, and builds a much stronger foundation for navigating whatever challenges life throws at you. It's a practice.
So, consistent routine, self-reflection on negativity, and telling the truth. 3 concrete actions.
Yeah, drawn directly from those broader themes in the book.
Well, these highlights and takeaways really just scratch the surface of 12 Rules for Life. It's a dense book. Definitely makes you think.
It absolutely does. It challenges you to confront some difficult truths, but ultimately it's aiming to offer a path towards greater meaning and taking on more responsibility in your life.
So thank you for joining us on this exploration for AI book highlights.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
If these ideas resonated with you, if you found them valuable and you want to really get into Jordan B. Peterson's framework, we definitely encourage you to grab a copy of the book.
You can find a link to purchase it right there in the description below.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.